Marqeta for about 5.5 years. The first 2 years I spent on the customer success team managing over 20 of our customers across various verticals and sizes. And it really gave me a good appreciation for the way we work across use cases, the different types of customers we might experience. So whether it's a new startup, whether it's a big bank. And then the last 3+ years, I've been working with Square. It started off with Cash App, the peer-to-peer network, which has kind of caught fire. And then we were able to also sell into Square, the seller ecosystem. So now we work very closely with Square, as is publicly released. They comprise a considerable portion of Marqeta's revenue. And the key accounts team is really now a cross-functional team of 8 folks who really focus on some of these larger accounts and making sure that they continue to grow and that we stay ahead of them and keep earning their trust and keeping them happy.
Awesome. And one of the themes that we've heard today on the embedded part of our conference is the value of relationships as a platform with key customers. So obviously Square represents 2/3 of your business. It's an important customer relationship. So how do you get your hands? How do you think about managing that relationship and making sure that you guys and Square both win?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's really nice about where we sit with Marqeta and how we work with our customers is that we really have aligned incentives. So as our customers grow, we grow. And when you couple that with operating as really core and deep infrastructure, the relationship you end up building ends up being one of really key partnership. So we work with more than 10 teams across Square and Marqeta. Everything we do touches pretty much every part of their company. And like you said, trust is really at the core of it. And making sure that we're making it easier and easier to work with them each and every day.
So Arnold, we had Luke Voiles, who's now the head of Square Banking. He kicked off yesterday at the event, and it's clear Square has a very ambitious game plan for moving into financial services. So how do you think about cooperating versus competition? Is this something Square would want to do themselves at some point?
It's a really good question that I get a lot. And the really cool thing about working with Square and a lot of our clients is they have really ambitious problems that they're trying to solve, whether it's financial inclusion, whether it's solving the last mile on food delivery, whether it's BNPL. And I think what everyone's dealing with right now is limited bandwidth on product and engineering on all the associated aspects of growing a business. And so the customers we really have the best DNA match continue to allocate all of their resources and investment in improving their downstream customers' experience, because ultimately that's the mission of their company. That's what they care about. But also, it's clear that that's actually the best business decision as well. So if they can find a partner like Marqeta to remove a tremendous amount of complexity, to allow them to really focus on improving that downstream customer experience, they're all the better for it. And we can really specialize on not just continuing to push the innovation and scale to help them, not just continue to service what we do today, but continue to bring them more and more improvements. And then at the same time, also scale reliably, where they can trust that we're the platform that they don't have to worry about if they double and double again. It's just all the more peace of mind that they can go back to working on what they actually started their companies to do.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so you mentioned, your work with Square started with Cash App and has since moved into the seller ecosystem. How do you make sure, I guess, as a service provider, as a platform, that your work with Square and Cash App, your team and your resources aren't siloed off from the rest of the business?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the really nice thing about that is we work really closely. Our team works really closely across, I mentioned 10+ teams at the company. So we're really in tune with product and engineering, what their roadmap looks like, what they need to do to build really for the platform. And like I mentioned, like the first couple of years of working on all these other customers gave me a deep appreciation for, we build for the platform. We don't build for necessarily one customer or another. And so there's really strong alignment there and awareness. And then, we talk about all day that the important thing here is that we're at the intersection of innovation and scale. And so a lot of what we're working on, a lot of the time spent building Foursquare is on that scale piece. And so, even though the use cases are very different between, let's call it like an Instacart and a Square, when COVID hit and Instacart's volumes, spiked through the roof, we didn't miss a beat. We were ready for it because we had allocated so many resources to be able to scale with a giant like Cash App with Square. So, even when you look at a downstream customer and say, hey, that doesn't really have a lot of applicability to, let's call it BNPL, it actually really does. In our world, from our view, it really does. The other nice thing is we actually do have a lot of similar use cases, right? So there's been a lot of press recently about all the crypto customers that we're working with, whether it's Coinbase, Fold, ShakePay backed. They're really building a kind of digital banking experience, much like what we're doing with Cash App and Square. You've got customers like in expense management, where it's Ramp, Expensify, Brex, Airbase. The expense management use case does look, the way that cardholders behave really does look a lot like we use it with our individual cards. So there's a ton of applicability there. So it's really innovation that we're driving for our largest client does shape the roadmap and a lot of the innovation that we can then bring to the rest of our cohort.
That's really interesting. I'm also curious internally with the talent on your teams. Do you get a lot of like interplay between people moving between different accounts? And if so, like what's sort of the fertilization, I guess, that from learnings from one partner to another?
Yeah, I would say actually, so the way that our customer success organization is built is that we do have cross-pollination across accounts. But what you actually kind of made me think of more was we have a lot of mobility inside the company of folks who started working on the customer-facing side, then moving into product management, then moving into strategy, and really bringing that frontline thinking and dissipating and dispersing it throughout the company. We really pride ourselves on being a customer-centric organization, but when you've lived what it's like to be on the front lines and really see what our customers care about and then can bring it to those different orgs, those have been, some of the most successful kind of cross-company transfers. And so those are real wins for the company. I really enjoy seeing that. That's
awesome. I want to zoom out a little bit. This conference is all about innovation in fintech and banking, and particularly as it comes to cards and ACH, it's that's technology that's existed for decades, and it's at the core of a lot of what we're talking about. Why is that?
Yeah, I think that while cards and ACH have been there for a long time, what we saw, and credit to the CEO and founder Jason Gardner, what he saw 10 plus years ago, was that there was still a huge gap that both innovators and incumbents alike really are looking to fill, whether it's flexibility, whether it's just being able to change that customer experience, and then also just evolve with the times of cards, right? So Apple and Google Pay, and and even like more in-depth things like 3DS, for instance. So there really was this big gap that needed filling. It wasn't quite as obvious probably as the opportunity on the acquiring side. And now that it's here, it really is, becoming very clear to everyone, which is why I've been invited to speak to you. And then the beautiful thing about cards and ACH is they're remarkably valuable pieces of technology, right? On the Square earnings call this week, Amrita, the CFO of Square, mentioned that the cash customers that have the card brought in 70% more money into the ecosystem than those who didn't. And so we're talking about a product that actually has money outflows, right? That's the point of the card, is you're spending on it. And but what it does is it really puts you in, top of wallet, daily use, really makes Cash App the center point for those people's financial lives. And then to facilitate that, because it was a clear complementary product, we built this ACH tool to really allow it in. And so what we see is that there's this beautiful flywheel effect of being able to see the money coming in and facilitate it, driving that reliance for one of the most precious things, which is having that money coming in, and then provide a really exciting customized experience on spending the money. ends up creating a very central and relied upon tool for our customer's customer, and then provides our customer with invaluable data of just seeing what are our customers doing and how do we better serve them.
Awesome. One of the things you said early in the conversation, Arnold, was about this this focus on building for the platform and not for the customer. And obviously, there's a tension there because each customer may have their own particular direction that they're headed in. So, can you just talk through sort of how you manage that again? I think if we can go, obviously, it's a conversation. It's not like there's no specific answer, but I'm curious just to know how you manage that your own priorities versus the client's priorities.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good question, and one that I think that, when I joined the company, it was under 100 people. That looked very different than now we're over 700, right? You have to keep continuing to evolve. And, I'm not really doing my job if I'm not very empathetic and understanding and aware of what the broader company goals are. But we actually get into this really great situation where, when we're allocating resources, when we're allocating that really precious bandwidth, you have to build a business case. You have to justify that there's an ROI. And when you build for a massive customer, the ROI kind of just figures itself out really nicely, right? And so where, and we've seen this actually happen both ways, where sometimes you'll have a very small new customer ask for something and we say, that sounds great, we just can't justify it at this point. We can't prioritize it. Well, you can basically justify, the investment on almost anything that Square wants, right? And then we can then filter that back down to the rest of the platform. Or if it's a really good request and it says, wow, this is definitely going to have applicability for our larger customers, let's build it out in, a very nimble and kind of MVP way for the smaller customer. They can, we'll be extremely transparent with them, be that, beta product user, and then roll it out and say, hey, we're really excited to bring you this thing. And so we've seen success with that in both directions. But I think what's really important is sort of like discipline and prioritization. So we're making decisions on all of this in a systematic and thoughtful manner, rather than, hey, the big guy asked for it, let's run around with our, heads cut off and figure out a way to do it.
All the chairs.
Yeah. And so, and that really serves everyone, right? Like, we're a better partner if we're measured in the way that we respond to requests, to ensure that, because, if you ask us for something, you don't know what the impact on the rest of our roadmap is going to be. That's our job, to be really thoughtful and intentional about the way that we allocate there.
I get that a lot. Thank you for that. When I think of Marqeta, one of the things I think you guys have done so well is build an ecosystem of innovation around card issuing. Why do you think that the space is so ripe for that type of innovation?
Yeah, it's just so difficult, right? The level of complexity and maybe like some of the most validating comments I've heard is, since we do talk across both sides of the aisle at Square, is folks who have been working on the acquiring side then look at what we're doing on the issuing side and just tell us, like, there's just more here. There's just a lot more. It's a lot more difficult. There's so much more complexity in these countless iterations of how a transaction might go, or money held, or anything. And so it's been a great place to really like double down and invest. I think the barriers to entry are higher as a result. Like that complexity, which we sometimes complain about, is also the reason why we all have jobs, right? And why there's a real market opportunity here. And then this incredible TAM to go reach out for. It's definitely a technology play on the issuing cards, making it available over API, processing payments. But additionally, the program management of bank relationships, of networks, of working with card fulfillment providers, for us to be able to centralize all of that and really be the quarterback on all of that for our customers, just, again, allows them to go back to innovating in the space that they wanted, rather than solving this, mind-numbingly complex problem of moving money around.
Yeah, totally. And one of the things we've seen in the industry is card issuing becoming a massive, it was massively overlooked, and now there's a lot of interest, obviously. So as if Marqeta really was the first, I know you branded yourself as modern card issuer. With that positioning, we are seeing new people moving in. How do you continue to differentiate yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it really is like proving the category to see competitors come in, and competition is ultimately great for the space, right? We need to continue to be pushing ourselves to be better as a company. But I think when we see these new entrants, there's such a massive pie that continues to grow each day. I mean, you're seeing companies that otherwise never would have even thought about. There's like everyone's becoming a fintech company kind of thing. Like it's really at this point in the like maturation cycle of the business, it's not really fighting over who gets to take a bigger portion of the pie. It's watching the TAM grow every single day and just trying to keep up with that. And so that's the kind of industry you want to be in, where it's continuing to grow. And we need to continue to open up the aperture of customers we can serve. But ultimately, yeah, it's really critical for us to keep nailing innovation and scale. And so you've got the old school providers who do a tremendous job at scale, right? It's not like Marqeta didn't come about because someone's Chase card wasn't working consistently enough, right? They're amazing at what they do. And then you've got innovators who are coming in and really adding a lot of that like beautiful flexibility to the card experience, making it lower and lower touch in terms of onboarding and cutting down that time. And we sit at the middle of bringing both of those things, right? So we really were able to introduce a tremendous amount of value that our customers can then provide theirs, while also, we want to work with people who expect a 10x, right? And then keep going in that way. And once you're building on a particular set of infrastructure, it's really difficult to leave. And so the conversations that we're engaging in at that highest level are, when you realize the dreams, when you're not thinking about your Series B, but you're thinking about going public, will still be the right platform for you to be, putting all that volume on. So it's a delicate balance to strike. Scale on card issuing takes a tremendous amount of work. Innovation still continues to be the lifeblood of how we keep people interested and push the growth that we so desperately rely on from our customers. And it's been really impressive to watch as we've matured as a company, continuing to drive both of those.
I know you said something as an aside, but I want to pull on it a little bit. You mentioned possibly opening the aperture with the types of companies that you could work with. What are the types of companies that would fit in an expanded aperture?
Yeah, I mean, what's really nice is we've been on, and I think the title of this was All Roads Lead to Cards. When I joined, we were really excited about DoorDash as kind of this proof of concept that like somebody wants what we're doing. And then Instacart came along, and we saw a lot of traction with on-demand delivery. And it was kind of like, okay, we've nailed this. What else? Who else would use our technology? And every year we continue to see more like really hot products relying on our platform. So, I mean, BNPL is obviously like the theme of the year, maybe, right? You can't have a conversation about fintech without talking about that. And we're powering Affirm, and we've been powering Affirm for years. But then you've also got Afterpay and Klarna, Sezzle, Zip. You've got all these innovators there that rely on our platform. Goldman Sachs has their Marcus product. So we're going into these like large digital banks. But then you also have, we announced a partnership with JP Morgan. And so we're going up market and being able to talk to those giant FIs now, because we can say, look at the volume that we're handling. We really are that trusted advisor. You don't have to worry about, working with us and things. You only getting the innovation part of the sandwich, I'd say. Expense management, right? Felt like that was Amex's game all along. And then you've got, super hot companies like Brex and Ramp and Expensify and Airbase come along. And again, the flexibility around the card is a lot of their offering. And we talked about crypto. And so it's just all of these broader fintech trends. We're not the ones deciding, or we are not smart enough to know that, but we're the platform that says, use us, and that'll, and then that'll go through us, and we'll benefit from whichever of those or all of them being wildly successful and taking off.
I got that. Question came in from the audience from Michael. Asked, what about servicing credit unions? Is that something you're looking at, or you do already?
No, I'd say it's something we're looking at. What we've found is a really strong DNA fit with innovators, with companies that have, that are developer led, that have engineers that really like jumping into APIs, and so that's really been what's worked, and that now allows us the success with all the customers we've been talking about, including Square, allows us to invest in how do we make it easier for something like a credit union. How do we make it applicable to them where they don't need to go and hire a bunch of, Silicon Valley hotshots? And that's really, core to, in some ways, maybe Michael's answering the question you asked better than I did, where that's how we do open the aperture is make it a little bit more easy to work with that. But, I think companies need to sort of understand themselves and where they have a strong match with customers. And that's been with, some of the innovators I've mentioned, and then be really deliberate about when it's time to go into markets and go into customer bases that don't look exactly like what we've done before.
And I know you have a partnership where you're getting into a credit on the credit side of things.
Mm-hmm.
I guess what's the perspective there? Are you just testing that out now? Is that a strategic move into credit? Like, what's your thinking about that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a strategic move, and I'd say we're doing more than testing. Credit, similar to issuing, just has so much complexity around it, and it's that's one of the things that makes it a really attractive space. And so we've launched a partnership with Deserve, again, a very sort of developer-led company, very similar DNAs, and together we've really been able to put together a robust offering on credit. And I absolutely, it's one of the things that make me really excited for the future of the company, because it's just a logical place for us to go. There's obviously a tremendous amount of reliance upon it, and a lot of economics there as well. But in the meantime, it's nice that we're powering maybe like credit's first enemy in a while, which is BNPL. So that's really the point of being a platform, is you're not picking winners. You really should be the backbone of the entire ecosystem. And we need to keep pushing ourselves to be more and more applicable to the broader use case, so that it's not a who's using a Marqeta. It's sort of course, everyone's on Marqeta. It's just a given.
I want to go back, Arnold, to ask a question. I guess that you sort of hit on in our previous question, but I want to ask it more explicitly, is where do you see cards having the most impact in fintech today? You mentioned BNPL a few times. So what other subsectors?
Yeah, I mean, we're really excited about crypto. I saw some comment about, crypto crossed 60,000 and the only use of it is to talk about how much money you've made on crypto. And we're really solving that, right? You can go in and spend some of your well-deserved gains. That's huge, right? We're really at the nascency of that industry. And to be able to give it real world live applicability is, hopefully at some point we'll be recognized in such a way that that's actually going to drive the further adoption of it, right? Is that it can be used.
And that use case is still just converting crypto into fiat primarily at the point of sale? Okay.
Exactly. And again, it's what we were talking about before, like that daily use case, that applicability, that really becoming, instead of, one of these apps just being another place where you're investing money and making bets, it really transforms it into the center of your financial life. And that's kind of where I was going to go even more broadly, is just these digital banks where everyone who has a customer relationship wants to be more central to it. And so, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Uber, people want to take on more of their customers' lives, and introducing tools like spend and money in through ACH are exactly the way to do that. And so another piece to just kind of another plug of like the all roads lead through cards. This is a central and extremely valuable way to become closer in that very valued relationship.
Awesome. And I don't want to misspeak, but I also think that you've made some moves internationally as well. Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's a critical use case for us, and is going to be a huge area of investment. Has already been and is going to be a huge area of investment for us going forward. There's a lot of complexity internationally, and what we understand to be Visa and MasterCard being kind of the only game in town, it actually doesn't hold true there. There's different regulatory environments. I once heard actually at a good talk, it said if someone has a region strategy, it means they don't really know what they're doing, because you really have to be country specific. Wow. And that obviously makes jumping internationally just something you have to be very deliberate about, and knowing exactly what you're biting off. But yeah, I mean, we have so much inbound interest in what we provide in the US, and it's just waiting there for us to take it, and we just have to do it the right way.
And how has the customer success team evolved as you think about going internationally, or you think about going into other sectors? Is there are there matrices that you're working through? Like how do you guys work?
Yeah, I think that right now the country specific aspect is sort of the most important. So that's what leads that like the way that we're allocating resources. And then, but at the same time, what I'd say is it's really based where the relationship is. And so, if we were to go abroad with an existing customer, and that's one of our real competitive advantages here, which is you can have the exact same experience which you've just built on in the US, over somewhere else. That relationship will stay with where the home is. But so it's all based on where the company is. But then there's just a tremendous amount of cross-pollination of information, right? Where we're making sure that our counterparts aren't learning lessons. They're not reinventing the wheel. They're not learning the lessons the hard way. And that's been really exciting, because you almost have. Like I remember when we built our European office, it was kind of a little startup inside of Marqeta, which had sort of grown, and being able to lean into that and help them maybe avoid some of our earlier missteps was great to see. And now that they're a nice, big, mature office, and we're doing the same thing in Australia and in other locations, we get to keep kind of like passing down that information and making each one more efficient as it comes.
Arnold, it's been great talking to you. Thanks for joining us at the Big Bang Theory conference.
The pleasure was all mine, Zach.